Rachel McAdams, and I said, time traveler's wife? And he said, about time. And I said, time traveler's wife? And he said, about time. Welcome to Recotopia, a happy home for recommended movies, shows, and music from two people you can definitely trust. Trustability varies by region, no guarantees implied. Now, here are your hosts, Chris Atkinson and Jeremy Scott.
All right.
Hey!
We are here. Hello, everybody out there.
Hey!
Doing the chat and everything. This is Recotopia, episode 14. The big recommend today will be Hard Boiled, John Woo's 1992 action film. And yeah, I'm Jeremy Scott. No, I'm Chris Atkinson.
I'm Chris Atkinson.
Yes, I'm Chris Atkinson.
Hey, I would like, and I'm Jeremy Scott, and I would like to start the show by saying I didn't screw up the timer.
Yeah,
I did the timer.
The timer was correct. Yep. Absolutely.
Hee-haw the bee-ball. I am very excited about this episode. As usual, we've got some really interesting stuff to recommend for all of you. And let's get started. Let's go with the small recommends to start the show.
Yeah, small recommends.
It's no big deal.
Itty bitty living space.
It's so small and light.
It's small, it's tiny, it's petite, it's wee.
I'll kick it off.
Okay.
I'll cut you off and then kick it off. Let's start with a 2021 black and white film that I just recently saw called Come On, Come On.
This is an interesting one. I feel like there were a lot of positive reviews for this movie, but I also saw it hit a couple of worst lists. So it was kind of an interesting situation with that movie. Anyway, please do go on.
I don't know why that would be. Maybe you just have to be in the mood for this kind of film. Basically, Joaquin Phoenix and his sister Gabby Hoffman haven't talked to each other in a really long time. They're estranged, but their mother has recently died, and she has to go to her estranged husband, who is mentally ill, and take care of him, and needs Joaquin Phoenix to watch her young son. This is a nephew that he has no relationship with. And then because his own work life comes calling, and Gabby Hoffman has to stay away for too long, they end up having to go on a road trip, basically from California all the way to New York. And the little kid bugs the shit out of Joaquin Phoenix. And in many ways, this is just a very classic kind of storyline. It's a bad Santa kind of storyline, if you will.
Of course it is. Of course it is.
There's like a crustier adult and a charming, annoying kid who, over the course of events, in this case a road trip, come to understand each other better. There's some really touching moments where the kid shares that he's scared he's going to have what his dad has, this mental illness that his dad is suffering from. Really touching drama. Not sure why it would make a worse list. That doesn't make any sense to me. I could see somebody going, okay, that was just all right, but not thinking it was awful. I like subdued Joaquin Phoenix an awful lot.
Yeah.
Like, he's great in Joker. He's great when he goes off the rails, but soft, subdued Joaquin. There's something special there. This is from Mike Mills, a guy who made Thumbsucker in 2005.
Yep.
Made a movie called Beginners in 2010 and 20th Century Women 2016. So not a lot that you've heard of or seen, but I liked it. It's 94 on Rotten Tomatoes. So I think there are just some crabby people out there. I would give it.
It seemed to be getting mainly positive reviews. Like I said, I think I saw it at least on one worst list. It may not have been on anything more than just one, but I'd seen a lot of positive reviews, but it wasn't getting very much Oscar buzz too, and that's odd considering. Unless Joaquin Phoenix's whole thing about calves in his acceptance speech when he won has turned people off of him at awards time and whatever. But But I don't know. It was one of those where I heard about it and it looked like it was getting some good awards buzz, and then it kind of fell off the face of the earth.
Yeah. Yeah. If you want to watch this, folks, at home, it looks like there are options galore. I saw it on Showtime. It's on Hulu and Amazon for premium subscriptions. It's on the Roku channel and Sling TV for premium subscriptions. It's called Come On, Come On.
Mm-hmm. All right. I saw a movie in the theater, The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent, the Nicolas Cage meta movie. And look, this is a light recommend, okay? This is not one of these where I'm like, you guys must see this. But I do love the fact that we have actors out there who will play themselves for a whole movie, for a whole kind of a joke thing. Being John Malkovich was one that we remember fondly. And there's you're expecting, because this is a Nicolas Cage movie about Nicolas Cage, that he's going to have one of the most zaniest, craziest performances he's ever made, because that's the kind of movie this is. But to kind of temper that down, and hearing him get interviewed about it, I get the sense we may have never gotten the really crazy version of this movie. Because he said he talked to the director, and the director wanted to make something that was full of heart and blah, 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 and whatever. But, if there was anything that I wish this movie could have been more of, is more insane, because it is one of those things where I feel like there should have been, this should have been almost I'm not a big fan of references for reference's sake, but it would have been nice to have a lot of like really obscure ones, although Guarding Tess does make an appearance in this movie.
Of all the movies.
Right. And there's a point where Cage walks in on comes into Pedro Pascal's it's obviously going to be a shrine room. We know it's going to be a shrine room before he even opens it up, but opens it up, and it's a kind of a crazy shrine, but not like as crazy as it could have been. It could have been just really over the top, but they just kind of somehow found a way to keep it tempered. The story of it is just that Nicolas Cage is a struggling actor at this point, and his agent is played by Neil Patrick Harris, and he's having a hard time finding real leading man work anymore, and the only thing that he gets thrown his way that's worth a lot of money is someone wants him to come down for a birthday party, and it turns out to be this arms dealer played by Pedro Pascal. And Nicolas Cage goes down there, and we see Tiffany Haddish and Ike Barinholtz, who are part of the CIA, see Nicolas Cage get off of a plane. They're like, oh shit, he's coming down to visit this guy. What are we supposed to do? Because they are apparently investigating Pedro Pascal. And they end up trying to get Nicolas Cage to work with them to help take him down. And there is a kidnapped daughter of someone running for an election in another country, and they're trying to save her before she gets killed. So he's having to play this double life kind of thing, where he's kind of working for the CIA, and he's also trying to be the best Nicolas Cage he can be for Pedro Pascal, who is obviously a huge Cage fan, knows all of his movies, everything. And it's really fun that way. Like I said, though, it would have been nice if it went crazy. There is one moment in there, he talks to his younger self. You see it in the trailer, where he's like, Nick, fuck it! He holds that fucking for like probably 20 seconds. And Nick fucking Cage. And it's the younger version of him that looks like the old, like, Moonstruck, Vampire's Kiss, Nicolas Cage. who's like dying for him to be a big star again, and be in the lead role, even though now Nicolas Cage is like considering himself more of a character actor and more complex roles and blah 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 blah. Anyway, it is fun. I just, like I said, I just wish it could have gone a tad bit. This is a movie where you have license to really like dangle that crazy carrot, and you cut it off. You pulled your punch just a bit.
Interesting. Very, very interesting. But that one was already on my radar, and now it bumps up the list a little bit with that recommend. My second small recommend for this week is a 2008 joint. No, it's not a Spike Lee film. It's called The Ruins.
Oh, yes. I know The Ruins.
And this stars Jenna Malone, Shawn Ashmore, Jonathan Tucker, who's the villain in the Charlie's Angels movie I love.
Yep.
And Laura Ramsey.
Right.
This is referred to as a natural horror or a nature horror film. And it's pretty straightforward. Two couples are in a foreign Central American country, South American. I'm sure they say where it is. I have forgotten. I'm an American racist. But they are told about this secret thing that most tourists don't know about, these ruins that you can go see if you go way off the beaten path to where you probably will never find your way back. So they're like, yes, shady person, we will go to this awesome place we've heard about. And they end up basically getting trapped on the top of the ruins of this pyramid-like structure by these natives who sort of surround the property and won't let them leave. They try to leave, and people get hurt. So they have to go back up to the top of the ruins, and they're not sure how they're going to get off. And then the murderous vines start growing and protruding from the ground. And there's a big cavern in the center of the ruins, and that's really all you need to know, baby. It's short, it's sweet, it's scary, it's inventive, but it's not trying to reinvent the wheel. I find it to be a very solid movie, and I hope you will enjoy it if you watch it. Let me see. Right now, if you want to watch The Ruins, which has a miserable 49% on Rotten Tomatoes, and a 5.9 on IMDb, my thing is recommending shitty movies, apparently.
Sure.
I don't think this movie is bad at all. I think this movie is good. It's on HBO Max, it's on Hulu, and you can rent it from all the other usual suspects. I hate it. I don't know what the deal is.
I saw this when it came out. It was one of those Thursday night before it came out movies that I watched. And I think I liked this movie. I haven't seen it since, and I may have to look back and see if I can find anything that I wrote about it somewhere. But I think I remember enjoying this. Like it was unexpectedly better than I thought it would be. So.
Yeah, I don't know where I should have looked at the ratings. I usually do before I even wrote it down to recommend. I've seen it 3 times. I like it. It's a solid recommend from me, but I don't know.
Yeah. A couple of Saturdays ago, doing a movie night with some friends, this guy picked a couple of movies from the pre-Hays Code era, where you could sort of get away with some things before the Hays Code. You weren't like able to go full on out and say fuck and stuff like that in it, but
say fuck. No, you shouldn't say fuck. Fuck no.
That's right. So to get us in the mood for these movies that were short, he played some other stuff as sort of a primer before we watched those 2 movies, and one was Laurel and Hardy's short The Music Box. And I had never seen, this is hard to believe, I had never seen a Laurel and Hardy movie, any short, any movie, nothing. Never seen anything from them. You'd think I would have, but I haven't. But all this is, it's a very simple premise, and I'm sure many of the Laurel and Hardys did this kind of thing. It's about 2 guys moving a piano and trying to move it to this house that's at the top of this hill, and just a constant comedy of errors that keep happening as they move it up, as they try to walk it up these steps. And there's just some there's some things where you know where something's going to happen and you still just laugh anyway because of the way they execute it. The timing is perfect on this. Obviously, these guys were vaudeville act before they went into, silent film and then regular film and things like that. One of the funniest things is them getting all the way to the top and then they're walking it towards the house and somehow this piano slides down and then makes a turn and goes back down the stairs. It's one of the funniest things that you'll ever see. This is just very simple, very fun comedy. I think it's a 20-something minute short. Well worth trying to find. I don't know where you can find it actually. I think it's on YouTube. I think a lot of the stuff is on YouTube, in fact.
Probably.
Having never seen Laurel, I've seen the biopic with John C. Reilly and Steve Coogan, but I haven't seen any of their actual stuff. So I fully recommend this. I saw another one afterward. I can't remember the name of it, but it's about Christmas trees. It's about they're selling Christmas trees, and it's the same sort of deal where they're going door to door trying to sell Christmas trees. It's really fun too, but highly recommend the Music Box. A lot of fun.
Yeah, my brother and I got a healthy dose of Laurel and Hardy and Abbott and Costello.
Mm-hmm.
And so I've seen a lot of these guys work. And if you haven't seen Stan and Ollie, the biopic he's talking about with John C. Reilly, that would be an excellent double feature with some Laurel and Hardy.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
Stuff.
Yeah.
All right, well, now it's time for the big recommend.
The big recommend.
I'm fine. It's just that you're so big.
It's so huge.
It's a good rule, but this is bigger than rules.
It's bigger on the inside.
Is it? I noticed.
The big recommend is John Woo's Hard Boiled, movie that came out in 1992. It was his last film he made in Hong Kong before he came to the States. He made Hard Target, was his first movie in the States, which is not all that bad, actually. Hard Target. No. It's a Jean-Claude Van Damme movie. It's actually pretty good.
There's arrows and there's kicking.
Yeah, there is. Hard Boiled is sort of John Woo's Dirty Harry movie. This is a cop that is plays by his own rules and it doesn't matter what his commander tells him. It's really, he's the one who's really in charge. It doesn't matter if you take his badge and his gun, he's going to find a way to get back into the action later, and there's going to be no consequences to it at all. Apparently, John Woo had been making a bunch of gangster films before this, and he was criticized for glorifying gangsters and stuff. The previous movie called The Killer, which is really good, was before this, another Chow Yun-fat movie. But he decided this time I'm gonna give the cops their due. If you've seen an undercover cop movie, and this one Tony Leung plays the undercover cop, you know what you're dealing with. The undercover cop is always too deep, right? He's so deeply into character, and he has to do so many bad things that he doesn't feel like a cop anymore. He doesn't even know what his identity is anymore. I feel like there's some real truth to that. I don't know anybody who's been an undercover cop. Maybe that's the point. But just to think about all the moral lines you have to cross, being an undercover cop, and you see he has multiple ones. Tony Leung does in this movie. Not only does he have to be a cop and he has to put the bad guys away, but there's actually there's rival gangs in this, that one played by an older father figure type who he works for, and then the younger guy who's trying to hone in on all that business that the older guy has, who wants Tony Leung on his team. And so he has to make decisions even within the world, the gangster world that he's in, that don't jive with what he wants to do, because you can tell he's got like this affinity for this older father figure type in the movie, even though he's been trying to put him away this whole time and everything. But Chow Yun-fat is basically the cop who comes in and basically fucks up all this undercover cop's work a lot of the time. There's 3 big, huge action scenes in this movie, but the first one starts at a tea house where Chow Yun-fat is on the trail of this gangster. And he doesn't know. That's the thing. Nobody knows who's undercover and who's working for who and all this type of stuff. So once the action starts getting hot and heavy in these movies and people start getting killed, you end up killing people on your own side without even knowing it. And it's a lot of craziness. That tea house scene is what sets the tone for this whole movie. It is chaotic action. It's got that unforgettable Chow Yun-fat going down the banister shooting those guys. Yeah. And it also introduces you to an editing style that is, I think, popularized by the Wild Bunch. That was the Sam Peckinpah movie back in the 60s. And there's an editing style where it's like a fast action cut to slow motion, cut to, that type of thing. The difference between the cuts in these kind of action movies and say your average Resident Evil or something like that, that pops along, that has wildly cut action scenes, they're not cutting to something random in the middle of the cutting. You know what I'm getting at? Like,
yeah,
somebody in the banister scene, it's him going down the banister. He shoots, it goes and it cuts to another angle of him blowing away these guys down at the bottom of the stairs, and it cuts to another shot, but it always maintains focus. It never cuts to somebody like reloading their gun or somebody looking off screen or any of that type of stuff that we see in a lot of big American action movies. That's why the cutting here, even though it's fast and frenetic, is way better than anything that you see in most American action movies.
Yeah, in fact, one of my biggest notes, I wrote this one in all caps, the continuity in this movie fucking rules. Like, this movie at times is absolute chaos, especially the warehouse, the middle action sequence, which I think is the best one, is that warehouse scene.
Yeah.
And I don't really ever lose track of where I am. I don't necessarily know which side every guy firing is on, but to stage that scene with like 60 fucking guys or more, all shooting at everyone, and keep the viewer like in the room without completely losing their perspective of where everything is it reminded me of Mad Max Fury Road in terms of the planning that had to go into shooting these action sequences to be able to have that continuity. He's just not spraying bullets and setting off squibs, although I do think this movie probably kept the squib industry in business single-handedly for years.
Yeah.
There's an intention behind every angle, and that's what blew me away the most. I had never seen this movie, and I wish I had seen it in 1992.
Yeah.
I wish I could go back and see this in 1992. I think it would have exploded my brain. But that was what stood out to me the most over the whole film, is how much of an orchestrator he is. It's not just blind violence and gun voyeurism, although there's plenty of gun love.
Yeah.
There's a purpose, I think, to every shot, and it's really, really impressive.
Yeah. And speaking of that factory scene, which has so much going on in it, you have the betrayal by Tony Leung of his employer that's in that. You have first off, you have the younger gangster going in and with his crew and killing off a whole bunch of people in that factory. Then you have the big betrayal scene. Then you have Chow Yun-fat coming in and swinging down on a wire and blowing away a bunch of people. It's a bunch of craziness going on. There's also that scene, and talking and just still marveling at the editing. There's a rhythm to it that's amazing too. There's a scene where is it Mad Dog? Is that the character's name?
think so.
He ends up having an eye patch.
Yeah, that's Mad Dog.
There's a scene where there's a bunch of guys in a room and he just throws a grenade in there. You see him get the grenade, it cuts, you see the grenade go into the room, and then it cuts back to him. He's like, all right, job's done. And then then it blows up. And there's just something very lyrical about this kind of cutting in a movie. It's hard to explain. You can fuck this up so easily in the editing room, and in this one, every beat is correct on how it does.
I'm pretty sure that's the scene where he unpins 2 grenades with his mouth.
Oh yeah,
and then throws them.
That's it.
Then later, there's a fire, and he's leaning against a car, and he just kind of casually leans over and lights a cigarette with the raging fire on the hood of the car.
Yeah.
There's so much humor here. That was also unexpected. Action-based humor, very many ways reminded me of John Wick 3 in that I was cackling. Dude on motorcycle jumps off of a car. There's some random guy in the middle of a semi-trailer, and the motorcycle just slams him into all the boxes in there. And it's happened so fast, I just started dying laughing. Like, it's so fun and inventive, even while being, like, grossly violent.
Yeah, absolutely. And apparently, according to the IMDb, the body count in this movie is 307, which sounds low. But yeah, that factory scene is great, and it's amazing. Wu apparently tried to. He shoots films in sequence, so he's trying to top each thing as he goes along. And the hospital sequence definitely has a lot of great moments in it, but you still go back to that factory one as the best scene in this. The hospital sequence, by the way, took 40 days to shoot.
Oh my gosh.
The movie...
some films would be wrapped in 40 days.
That's correct. This whole film took 123 days to film. The hospital scene alone, 40 days, I believe it is 1 full hour in that hospital.
I clocked it close to that. When Alan jumps on that gurney and rolls down the hallway and just shooting people in the rooms with silencers as he goes by, again, cackling with joy at the action there. And I think that calls back to Chow Yun-Fat sliding down the banister and shooting as he goes.
Yeah.
It's just so much freaking fun. But I do want to warn you, my very first note, this movie is violent as fuck. If you haven't gotten that from what we've talked about already, if violence isn't your bag, you may not enjoy this because it's very violent.
Oh, yeah.
Man, I had such a good time.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know. I've seen a lot of undercover cop movies, and it just feels like Tony Leung's character in this, Alan, he has more conflicts than I have ever seen any undercover cop have. Like, even in The Departed and Donnie Brasco and all these, it feels like this guy has more conflicts than anybody can believe in this. Because he's not only got to pretend to be bad and then save people when he gets the chance. He keeps doing this, let me do this with and saving people that, he needs to save, and that puts suspicion on him by doing that. And then he has to somehow tell Chow Yun-Fat, hey, I'm in on this without, breaking, I don't know. It's against protocol, I'm pretty sure, to even tell anybody. But he knows that if he doesn't, he's just going to end up getting shot, which is comes to that great scene in the factory where they end up, this is a very John Woo staple type of thing that you see when the two people end up pointing guns at each other. And he points it at Tony Leung, and he shoots, and the gun doesn't misfire. It doesn't have bullets. Is he out of bullets? It feels like he's got bullets, right?
I read it as a jam.
It's a jam, yeah.
That's what I thought it was. But again, this was my first viewing. I don't know for sure.
But again, whatever the case may be, the gun fails, and there's that scene where Tony Leung. It's such a great acting moment too. He knows that he knows that his job could end this way. And the gun doesn't fire, and there's that moment of, oh my God, he was actually going to kill me. And then realizes this is the second chance, and I think that's what sort of, his character's so interesting in this. I think a lot of people have finally seen Tony Leung. They saw him in Shang-Chi and everything, and they're like, where has this guy been? Well, he's been making movies like this, and this is one of his best characters for sure that I know of. I haven't. It's not like I've seen 100 Tony Leung movies, but it's certainly up there.
Yeah, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Any parting thoughts before we move on to the super secret surprise double feature?
I don't think so. This movie is just jam-packed with action, and it's amazing, and you don't see anything like this in America, really. So,
And it's free on YouTube.
And it's free on YouTube.
If you haven't yet watched it, you can still do so.
Mm-hmm.
All right, it's time for the super secret surprise double feature. All right, everybody, it's time to talk about HelloFresh. HelloFresh is a meal-to-your-door service that has several unique qualities to it. The first is that it's healthy. The second is that these meals are restaurant quality. The third is that they come already pre-portioned, so you're not wasting ingredients and you don't have to waste time measuring. This is just a great way to be healthy, have really quality meals that you cook yourself, while also exposing you to new flavors that you might not ever have tried before. I never cooked with ginger before I joined HelloFresh. I never cooked with hoisin sauce or basmati rice before I joined HelloFresh. So in addition to providing me meals I can make and enjoy with my family, it also teaches me cooking techniques that I can use on my own down the road. HelloFresh is 72% cheaper than a restaurant meal of the same quality, and you can save on average over $65 a month when you order HelloFresh instead of grocery shopping. Just recently, the meals have included buffalo spiced crispy chicken cutlets, meatballs with bulgogi sauce, tostados supremo with pork, honey mustard pork chops, and the list just goes on and on. They all sound and taste that delicious. Go to HelloFresh.com/Recotopia16 for up to 16 free meals and 3 free gifts. Repeat, that's HelloFresh.com/Recotopia16 and use the code Recotopia16 to get up to 16 free meals and 3 free gifts. Go today.
Be very, very quiet.
Secret? What secret?
Our dirty little secret.
I tell you something I've never told anyone.
Ultimately going to end up with something that I think is fairly obvious, but my brain first went to Face Off, obviously, because there's a lot of similar John Woo-isms, but I'm not going to double feature the same director. I really sat on El Mariachi and Desperado for a long time because of the gunplay for the most part. But in the end, I have to go with the Raid 2.
Okay. Yeah.
Because there are multiple big inventive action sequences where you never lose your place in the room. There's an undercover cop. There's a young up-and-coming gangster trying to fuck over or usurp the older relative gangster. The undercover cop is conflicted. I just feel like there are so many parallel themes and big vision action sequences that this would make a really good double feature. I ended up thinking that's the movie it reminds me of the most. Is the Raid 2. Though if you wanted to sneak in El Mariachi and do like a triplet, I don't think you could go wrong there.
Yeah.
And you get 3 different cultures.
Oh yeah.
Of violent action.
Absolutely.
All right.
Yeah.
So your homework for next week. This is next week's big recommend, and I'm finally pulling the trigger on 2017's Only the Brave.
Aha.
This stars Josh Brolin, Miles Teller, Jennifer Connelly, Jeff Bridges, Taylor Kish, and James Badge Dale. And It's just well paced, superbly acted, and it's based on a true story. And this movie will sock you in the gut. This is Joseph Kosinski, whose next film is Top Gun Maverick.
Mhm.
He also made Oblivion with Tom Cruise, and he also made Tron Legacy.
Yep.
So I have liked or loved all of his films. And you can find this on Hulu or Sling TV if you have a premium subscription there. You can also rent it for $2.99 or $3.99 from Apple, YouTube.
And this is one of the many on Blu-ray. I have it in the collection. Haven't watched it movies, and so this will be my first chance at watching that, and I'll get to crack open a Blu-ray I haven't opened. So, this will be awesome.
Yeah, and I've seen this movie bunches and bunches. There's an extended version that I didn't know existed. Then I got my hands on it, and I've seen that bunches and bunches. Just really, really great. Okay, Only the Brave, next week's homework.
All right.
So, time to move into some questions and answers.
Yes.
Are you ready? Here we go.
Ready.
Question.
I got something to say. I want the truth.
I am listening.
First question. What is your favorite movie where the main character's face is hidden for most of the movie?
All right, so I'm going to go very basic here. Darth Vader in the Star Wars trilogy. And I don't know if the question means it's got to be the main character, but George Lucas claims that the original Star Wars trilogy is the end of Anakin's story, and that's really he's the main character, even though that's not true.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah. But anyway, as far as a main character is concerned, I'm going to go with Darth Vader here, and it is mostly obscured until the very, very end, when we find out it's not James Earl Jones, it's somebody else.
It's some purple-looking egg-headed guy.
That's right.
From the Batman TV show.
That's right. Yes.
I do want to point out before I answer, somebody in the comments is saying that Only the Brave is only on Hulu if you have the TV add-on. So I apologize for misleading you there. I still say it's worth the $2.99, $3.99 rent from anywhere. And now Tom in the chat has stolen my answer to this question, which is V for Vendetta.
Mm-hmm.
You could go Dredd, Carl Urban. I go Hugo Weaving, V for Vendetta. I think it's Star Wars is a little different. That was always going to be two performers. But when you're an actor and you're asked to cover up your face and mute your voice behind a mask, I think it's a pretty big task to do so and make yourself compelling. And I love Dredd, but I think Carl Urban's performance there is a lot more one note than what Hugo Weaving does in V for Vendetta. I actually feel like you care about that character by the end of it. So that's my answer. Anyone in the?
I see a vote for the Vincent Price The Fly, which is a good one. Apocalypse Now, yeah, with Marlon Brando. Especially he's not in the movie, but he's talked about constantly in the movie, all the way towards the end. And when we finally do get to the Kurtz compound, he is completely in shadow for the longest time until he finally emerges while he's making that big monologue. Those are good ones.
Batman.
Yeah.
All right, next question. What movie, good or bad, and all that is in between, makes you tear up, cry, get emotional, no matter how many times you have watched it? My answer is Bicentennial Man. Okay, it just gets me every time. The score is effective, and the acting is superb. I don't know who's pulling the heartstrings, but they're pulling hard.
Yeah.
Chris, how would you answer this?
I'm gonna another easy answer here: The Shawshank Redemption. And just, the scene where we finally see him leaving the prison and how he does it, and culminating with that coming out of the pipe at the end and the river and everything. Everything builds so well to that point. And you realize that he's been in prison for over 20 years. Is it 30 maybe at that point? He's been in prison for so long and wrongfully, that once all that has that big huge crescendo with the Thomas Newman score and everything, it always gets me.
That's a good answer. I've got two, and before I've even answered, I'm getting goosebumps just thinking about these movies. About Time is my number one answer, which I only ever saw because my brother recommended it. He said, I got a movie about time traveling with Rachel McAdams, and I said, Time Traveler's Wife? And he said, About Time. And I said, Time Traveler's Wife? And he said, About Time. And that's how I learned Rachel McAdams has been in multiple time travel movies. It just gets me in the end. When he knows this is the last time he's going to see his dad, and his dad says, let's go run along the beach, and it's just, bawling. And then I'm cheating because it's not technically a movie yet, but Hamilton, which is on Disney Plus as a film, I suppose. It's quiet uptown. It's going to make me bawl like a baby. I imagine till the day I die. I cannot. By the time it gets to there, I'm just so in this asshole's corner, Hamilton. I'm every bit as sad as he is.
Yeah, for sure. In the chat, we have Defending Your Life, which I regret to say, even though I love Albert Brooks, I have never seen that movie. I need to go watch that.
That's good shit.
A League of Their Own, The Letter, yes, The Letter for sure. That's a big scene. Coda from JC, that definitely is got an emotional moment. We spoke about Hamilton. Yeah, The Green Mile, Edward Delacroix, of course, and John Coffey. Both of their deaths are absolutely emotional. I remember, by the way, in The Green Mile, we had, I think, 3 prints of The Green Mile. You were still working we were still working together at the time The Green Mile came out. I was watching it that Thursday night, and Steven was in another auditorium watching his Green Mile. And he comes into my auditorium crying, and he's like, do you mind if I watch the rest of this with you? And he's like, because he said his movie, like, his print threw off the platter, and it happened right at the John Coffey scene. And, and I was like, yeah, man, come on, watch the rest of it with me.
So then he cries again, and then he has to go fix a fucking print on the floor?
Yeah.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, so, and of course, Home Alone, the old man, and of course,
the old man got to
the guy hits the propeller in Titanic. Yes, that's a serious answer.
I saw, I don't know, I'm sure it's fake, but I saw an image going around yesterday or the day before of an action figure from Titanic with all this professional art, and it's guy hitting propeller. So there's a little plastic propeller and like a little tiny plastic man on top of it.
That's amazing.
Oh, that was awesome. All right, moving on. What is your favorite weird movie? And why is it Zardoz? I'm kidding. Why is it Existenz? Kidding again. What's the real answer?
I don't know how weird you would call it. It is a bit weird, but John Carpenter's They Live is probably my favorite weird movie. If you're not familiar with They Live, it's we're living in a society where aliens are basically taking over, and all the ads that you see are subliminal, are hidden messages inside that are making you conform and whatever. And eventually Rowdy Roddy Piper gets a hold of these glasses that allow him to see the real world for what it is, and he gets to see who's a human and who's alien. It has like this extended fight sequence with Keith David that's I don't know if it's meant to be hilarious or what, because it just keeps going. Like they punch the hell out of each other, and you feel like it's over, and then like there's more fighting right after that, and then you're like, okay, it's over now, and more fighting happens after that. But They Live is an incredibly fun, weird movie for sure.
All right, that's good. I feel like eventually, whenever I see it, my answer might be this Everything Everywhere All at Once. If it ends up hitting me in a positive way, it certainly sounds weird as hell. I'm still on the Green Knight train.
Yeah.
I fully admit this movie is weird as fuck.
It is.
And most of what it's got going for it is stunning visuals.
Absolutely.
And weird shit. And at the end, I think it's got some stuff to say, but it's definitely mostly just a weird ass fucking movie.
Yeah.
Same with Annihilation.
Yeah,
like
definitely.
I think you could probably draw out 5 or 6 different things you think that movie's trying to say, and then you could also probably debunk each of those. Like that movie's whatever he was trying to say is too deep for me. I'm just there for the weird, and there's plenty of weird. And that bear,
Wigs. Oh my God, that bear thing is one of the craziest moments I've seen in, I don't know, in at least 10 years for sure. On the chat side, Dark City, yeah, that's a good one. That's a really good one. Southlander, Swiss Army Man, yeah, that's a crazy one. Everything Everywhere All at Once is definitely a crazy movie. And then Chris Batkinson, my namesake, says it takes some weird lawyering to do The Matrix is a weird movie. So
yes. I also just recently saw The Lighthouse, which I didn't seek it out. It was just there, and I didn't turn away. That guy's not necessarily mine. That was a weird ass fucking movie too. I don't know if you saw that movie.
No,
weird as hell.
Yeah.
House 2, The Second Story. There we go.
There you go. Patrick's always good with those. That's for sure.
All right. Moving on. What are your current top 5 actors? People that you get excited every time they come out with something. Now, I appreciate that the question asker put current, which does suggest that we are allowed to change this list, and actors or actresses are able to come and go over time. So currently, Chris, who are your top 5 actors that get you excited when you hear of a new project?
And I took one of yours on this, but
That's all right.
And I don't know if I'm missing somebody or what, but I know that these actors, every time I hear something about it, I'm like, I've got to go see that. So Daniel Kaluuya is one, Lakeith Stanfield is one, Anya Taylor-Joy, Florence Pugh, and Jodie Comer are all on that list right now.
Ooh, that's a very good list.
Mm-hmm.
Jodie Comer is everywhere, and so is Florence Pugh.
Mm-hmm.
And Florence Pugh is the one that's on my list and yours.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess we just crowned her queen.
Mm-hmm. Midsummer.
For good reason.
Mm-hmm.
Just came out with the trailer yesterday for Olivia Wilde's Don't Worry, Darling. I don't know if you watched that trailer.
I haven't seen the trailer, no.
It is bonkers.
Oh, yeah?
I saw somebody tweet, I am all the way in for whatever the hell this is. And that's a good way to describe my experience. It's very interesting. My 5 currently, Denzel's still the senior elder statesman on my... I'm still excited for any and every Denzel project, including Equalizer 3. I don't give a shit. Bring it on. Chris Pine.
Yep.
Probably my current number 1, and he also is in this Don't Worry, Darling movie I just mentioned, and he's playing this enigmatic, cult leadery kind of preachery, bossy kind of. I'm very intrigued by this film. Caitlin Devers, Booksmart. I'm gonna blank right now. That Netflix show, Unbelievable. I think it was Unbelievable.
Not sure.
Where she was attacked and nobody believes her story.
But she is great.
She's great in everything. Florence Pugh, and then Michael B. Jordan.
Yeah.
I'm even excited for Creed 3. I don't give a shit about boxing movies,
right?
But he's been so engaging in the first 2 Creed movies, and he's directing the 3rd one.
Oh, is he?
So, and so I'm curious to see, what he can do behind the camera, but he's a very engaging actor. Very excited for his Black Superman project that they're working on. Let's see who the live listeners have to say is in their top 5.
Jenna Ortega is given a mention. She's in the new Scream movie that came out. She is really good. Like I at first when you watch Scream, it's hard to get around some of the, because they throw in these. I don't know if you ever get this way about movies. Like sometimes profanity is like a distraction. And the way she's using her profanity in the opening scene is so like weird that it throws you off. But like, there's a lot of scenes in Scream where she's like, she's like really good. Actually, I think that, she might actually, I'd like to see more of her. So, also in X as well.
And she was in that movie, The Fallout, that I recommended as a small
That's
recommend
right.
a few weeks back.
That's right.
About a school shooting. She's fantastic.
Yep. We got a Benedict Cumberbatch. Someone's calling him, Josh is calling him Broccoli Cumsnatch. Then there is Jessie Buckley, who sort of emerged seemingly out of nowhere as well. Yeah, she's really good too. I really like Jessie Buckley.
All right. We will move on now to our final question of the day.
Mm-hmm.
And this one I like. This one I feel like whoever wrote this question knows us pretty well. What are some actors you would like to see in an Aaron Sorkin movie or show?
Well, I think of fast talkers, or people who are capable of doing fast talking. So Robert Downey Jr. and Jennifer Jason Leigh, especially from Hudsucker Proxy, Jennifer Jason Leigh, made me think that they would be great Sorkin actors. Downey Jr. especially in like Natural Born Killers, where he's just like so manic and crazy throughout that whole movie. But yeah, it's those two I think would be great in Sorkin's.
There's a very distinct, at least when he's writing, directing, he's shown a little bit of, I guess, different genre looks, but there's a very distinct Sorkin style of writing that is there whether you're watching West Wing or Studio 60 or A Few Good Men or even Newsroom. You can tell you're watching Sorkin, and if you're a big fan, you appreciate it. You appreciate when the Jeff Daniels of the world can go on Newsroom and blow your mind by giving you that Sorkin dialogue, and then do it again with Jobs or Steve Jobs. I never get those. I get those movies confused all the time. I don't care.
Yeah.
So I recently, having watched My Cousin Vinny, I'm going to throw Marissa Tomei.
Ah, yes.
And she doesn't have to do the New York accent from that movie, but I do believe she's got the chops to handle that dialogue that Sorkin's going to throw at her, but also the range. And then I'm also going to throw my boy George Clooney in there because I think movies like Michael Clayton sort of hint. They give him a few little monologues where he gets to, I am not the guy you killed.
Yeah.
I am the guy you buy off.
Yeah.
And he's already done the walk and talks with ER. They were doing the walk and talks. There's that John Wells connection to West Wing before Sorkin came along. So I think they could both spit out that dialogue and make it really believable.
Yeah, those are some really good choices, and that would be I think that would be a little bit of a departure for Tomei, and I think she would be great at it. But we're used to a certain kind of Tomei role, and I'd like to see her in something different like that. Some other mentions here. Dennis Leary, of course, big fast talking person there. Gilbert Gottfried, unfortunately, can't do that anymore. Colin Farrell would be pretty good. Melanie Linsky.
Melanie Linsky's awesome. Eisenberg was he was already in there. Denzel would be good. Colin Farrell showed us something in the Batman that I feel like he has kept hidden. I wonder, speculatively, if it wasn't all that makeup that let him extra slide into that role. I like Colin Farrell just fine. But I don't know that he's done anything up until the Batman where I went, that guy can act. Like I saw Daredevil the other day and he's playing Bullseye. I've seen The Recruit a few times. He's fine. I think Tigerland was his breakout film. He's good in that. I don't want to say he's a bad actor, but I feel like that went from 0 to 100 in that movie.
Yeah.
I'm just curious to know where he's been hiding that.
I don't know. He has those moments, right? Have you ever seen In Bruges?
Oh yeah. He's excellent.
I mean, he does for every like movie where it's like he's great. It's another one where it seems like he's sleepwalking here and there, or The Lobster is another good one. And when talking about fast talking, he is so fast talking in The Lobster. My God. So when I see Cillian Murphy make an appearance, Cillian Murphy would be good. I like that. I like that question.
Good stuff.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's going to do it for Recotopia episode 14. Next week's homework is on Only the Brave, which will be my first time looking at it. So hopefully I like it. If I don't, oh well.
Hopefully you do.
It becomes a Warnotopia. Not like we haven't done that before, but anyway, thank you so much out there in chat for contributing and helping us out. Today. We love having you here. But that'll do it for this episode. We'll see you. Be a part of the live show by being a member of the Sin Club at patreon.com/cinemasins. Chat with us on the Cinemasins Discord at discord.gg/cinemasins or Cinemasins Twitter @cinemasins, and email any comments or questions to recotopia@cinemasins.com. That's RECOTOPIA @cinemasins.com. There's a sort of a debate I've been having. I went to go see Jack White on Saturday night.
Awesome.
Playing at Ascend. This is the second time I've seen Jack White.
Okay.
And there was, he in his encore, he ended it with Seven Nation Army, which I wasn't expecting to hear Seven Nation Army whatsoever. I mean, it's one of those songs, right? And
That's right.
I just seeing how he enjoyed playing that song, or at least pretended to enjoy the song. Who knows? But I was sitting there going, man, Jack White fucking gets it. There's something about his performance on stage and everything. He's the true like rock and roll guy.
For sure.
He plays for the audience. He wants everybody to like have a good time, everybody to get involved, all that. And afterwards, I was talking to Jeff, who bought the tickets, and was talking to my buddy Travis, who I ran into, the guy I've known for like 30 something years. I just ran into him. I was like, yeah, you see, Jack White gets it. There are people out there who this is their first Jack White show, and they want to have one experience with Seven Nation Army. That's how famous that song is. And then he played it. He could have not played it. There's there's an expectation a lot of times. A song has been played so many times, the artist doesn't want to play it anymore.
Right.
But there was like some sort of hesitation on my friend's part about it, saying, well, I can understand if the songs, they played it so long or whatever, they don't want to play it again or whatever. And I was like, man, I completely disagree with this. I think you should play these famous songs every time. I don't care if you have played it a million times. A song that is that famous, yes, you're tired of playing it, but people are not tired of hearing it. And like I said, this is this is probably the first Jack White show. I would say a majority of the audience, probably their first ever Jack White show, want to hear that song, man. So I'm sorry if you're tired of playing it. Get the fucking shit out and play it.
The extra problem comes if you're an Orioles fan and you're sick to death of that melody because the fans chant it about 30 times a game. Mm-hmm. And there's other sports teams that also do this, but that song has been ruined for me by fucking baseball fans of all things. But I will say prior to that, I liked that song a great deal. And everything you're saying about Jack White, I mean, there's a reason he put down roots here and has a record shop here, and I think he owns the Basement or co-owns the Basement, which is a performance dump, but everybody loves it.
Right. And the last time I felt this way, I saw Beck at Ryman.
Oh man.
And Beck is another musician that I think really gets it. He understands how to play to an audience. He's probably tired of playing Where It's At, but he pulled Where It's At out, man. He pulled it out. And I'm sitting there going, I'm at a Ryman show, Beck, here in like whatever it was, 16, 17 or whatever when I saw him. That song is 20-something years old, and this motherfucker's still playing it like it's the first time he's ever had a chance to play it on stage, and that's everything. I don't think people understand that. I remember, like, younger when I would see some bands that didn't play their, like, one of their big hits or whatever. I'm like, I get that. You know, they don't want to play that, whatever. But man, like, and now I look back and I'm like, that's just such a waste. I saw Nine Inch Nails for the first time probably in 1994, 1995, one of those years. And Closer was one of his biggest radio hits, even though they had to edit the shit out of it. And he didn't play it. I mean, that was not even a long time after that song came out. He didn't play it. And I just thought that was really strange, even though I left going, I didn't need to hear Closer. I didn't need to hear that song. And I heard all the other ones that I wanted to hear. But then later you're like, wait a minute, that would have been really fucking cool if he had played that.
On the set, I dated a girl in college. She was a sweetheart, but one of her isms that she said all the time was, "Ret to jet." Like, are you ready to go? Are you ready to jet? She would say, she would ask it, or she would declare, "Ret to jet."
Mm-hmm.
And every time I was just like, man, I wish as a boyfriend I had the confidence to say, stop saying that.
I very briefly dated a girl who said "get her done," and I didn't know that was a Larry the Cable Guy thing at the time.
Oh no!
And I heard her say it, and I was like, "What is this get her done fucking thing that she's saying? I don't get it." And then later on, Larry the Cable Guy. She got it from Larry the Cable Guy. Okay, it's probably a good reason why I didn't continue with that.